All right. Good evening, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're from or when you are watching this. Welcome to the MinecraftEdu After Chat, the place where we come and we hang out for about a half an hour with our guests, sometimes longer, guest hosts of the evening. We want to thank all of those who are in attendance on the MinecraftEdu Twitter chat today. It was fantastic, unbelievable. The shared resources were great. So I hope to see you guys again there next week where we are discussing a topic, and it's off the top of my mind with Stephen Elford. So make sure you join us then. During the after chat, we're going to cover all the questions, or some of the questions, I should say. Probably not all of them that we covered in tonight's topic. As a highlight for you guys, if you haven't gotten a chance to reach us on Twitter or meet us on Twitter, it's your opportunity to see it. But first of all, I want to say a big thank you to the folks who've come at us from West Windsor Plainsboro School District in New Jersey. And we have joining us today Carl Cooper and Rebecca McLelland-Crawley, and we are missing in the after chat David Adderholt, but he was involved in the chat and the chat process in setting up the question. So we want to give a big thanks to him as well, although he wasn't able to join us for the after chat. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly introduce myself. My name is Garrett Zimmer. I'm one of the founders of MinecraftEdu Chat, the Twitter chat, as well. My partner here, Mark Grundell, is also one of the founders. And yeah, basically, I'm not a whole educator in the classroom right now. I've dabbled in education, but it is my passion. I am the Minecraft master. I work with Minecraft primarily, typically bringing games into Minecraft that are educationally based and educationally valuable. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with Carl Cooper, and introduce yourself to us, Carl. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I've been an educator for 20 years. For the last few years, I've been an administrator. I desperately miss the classroom. It is something that I kind of wish I could go back, because kids are really kind of cool. I have a passion for giving kids real experiences and empowering kids to make choices for their learning and in life. I think that the purpose of education is to help kids build lives, and together we're building a democracy. We're building a society that believes in people. So I think community-based learning can be a great, important tool.
Yeah, and to that point, one thing that I forgot to mention was the topic of tonight's chat. Let me cover that real quickly. We were talking about promoting the whole child through game-based learning, and I think that speaks directly to your point, Carl, that the goal of educators today really has to be to focus on the social, the emotional, all the extended learning that happens. So I think you put it better than anybody could have. So thank you for that. Rebecca, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and please introduce yourself.
Sure. So I have been teaching for about 19 years. I am a scientist, a science teacher first and foremost. So I love to excite kids with the different ways that they can be scientists, because we seem to forget that kids start off naturally as scientists and like to explore and ask questions about the world around them, and then we school it out of them. So I think one of our main roles in education is to find ways to excite them and to keep them curious. And when we talk about the whole child, it has been since the dawn of my being to find ways to reach everybody on a much deeper level than just on the academic content. Mm-hmm. Because no child has ever been excited or says 20 years later, man, I remember that worksheet that we did, it was so awesome. Mm-hmm. But 20 years later in education, I still have kids coming up to me telling me, you were the first person that made me feel like a scientist, or you were the first person that made me feel like what I was doing in school and out of school was really important. Mm-hmm. So as educators, we really need to take a moment to think about how we can connect with our students beyond the content, because that will fall into place naturally once that foundation is met. So when we're talking about the whole child, we really need to look for ways that we can address their social and emotional needs before the content comes in. And I think that's what we all know deep down inside, and all these other mandates get in the way from time to time, and we have to ground ourselves in that. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. And I am Mark. I'm the other co-founder of the MinecraftEdu Chat, and I teach 5th grade in Southern New Jersey. I love hearing what you're saying, Rebecca and Carl. You know, so many educators across the country, they're starting the school year, or they're going to be starting in a few weeks, and I think keeping the whole social and emotional curriculum in mind as we get started and investing that time in learning about our students and our children up front is going to pay dividends later on throughout the year. If we invest the time now and we kind of, you know, don't wholly push academics off, but really invest in knowing our children and learning their interests, we'll be able to catch up and do the academics later. So I just think that's such an important reminder, you know, just listening to what you guys are saying. Carl?
Yeah, I don't think that there is any conflict between social emotional learning and academic learning. I don't believe that they are at all mutually exclusive. I think in order to have academic learning, you need to have kids that are socially and emotionally healthy, and that by working on and attending to social health and relationship to those elements that are so vital to just being a human being, that's how you can actually increase, and in fact actually that's what you need to do to have any academic learning whatsoever. So.
If we look at it, and I'll just throw a point here, if we look at, you know, sort of the psychology of childhood development, learning happens, whether it be social learning, whether it be academic learning, or learning different skills, it happens much better when a child is in a comfortable and safe environment. And
Yes.
you know, parents that love us, you know, family that love us, that connectivity presents itself in this comfort level where we can actually intake more into our brains, we can retain more, and we understand more. If we take that same context into the classroom, and I think we'll talk about it in one of the questions, it definitely came up, that one of the things that's really important with game-based learning is it allows us to develop a relationship with our students. It allows us to step outside of the function of, I'm the teacher, you need to listen to what I say, and it turns it into, okay, you know, we're on this exploration together. We're in this journey together. I'm going to learn from you, and you're going to learn from me. And that presents this very comfortable relationship where learning happens much easier.
Yeah, I think that you made a great point there, that that the idea of a teacher and a student, or a teacher and a group of students going on a mutual journey and saying, as a teacher, I don't know everything, that we're going to explore the world together, that's a really interesting space to habitate. And so to create that kind of environment for our kids, to make that a central focus of our classrooms, is probably something that I want my kids. I want my children to be in a classroom like that.
Well, I'm done high school, but you know, can I sign up with the West Windsor Plainsboro School District? Can I go back to school? Because I think I want to learn from teachers like that as well.
No. I before we hop into the questions, I just wanted to add, I don't know if you guys read a book, How Children Succeed by Paul Tough, but in that book he really does go into how stress affects the body and the learning, and how when children are under stress and duress, they do not learn. They physically, the body is producing, you know, chemicals like cortisol that actually inhibit learning. So just, you know, creating that safe and comfortable environment for kids to learn is so important. Just wanted to add that. It's a great book. If you haven't read it, I downloaded it from my library, listened to it on my commute. Great read, great listen.
There is a ton of work actually that my students in one of my research tracks did last year and are continuing for another year on social emotional well-being in students and on student stress, because we have from a lot of the studies that we've done within our district and from an outside evaluation, we have a lot of students in a high-performing district that feel extremely stressed out some, most, or all of the time. And so these 7th graders this year did that as a sort of community-based problem to find out, are we alone in this? Are we the only ones who are feeling this level of stress? And how do we find help for it? Because we don't have the coping strategies, because we're always striving for 110%. Because 100% is just not good enough. So the kids did do a lot of research on that and did share it out with teachers and other students on how they could use mindfulness as a practice to take time out, or how could they play games with their friends and learn from one another and be able to fail in an environment where it was safe to fail and learn from their mistakes and improve in their strategies. And that was a huge component. One of the kids actually said, when we have our family night for our wellness fair, can we ask our parents to play games with us, because we just want to sit down and play games with our parents. We want to have time to do that. And it just speaks volumes about what we're doing right and what we're not doing so right in education. We push sometimes too far on either end, right? Of it's got to be all academics because our kids need to be #1 in the world because it's this global economy and they've got to be all of this. And then, let's really lighten up and we'll have it all fun and games and we'll worry all about the other end. But somewhere in the middle is the sweet spot that we want to find, right? And it's knowing our kids, and that's something that we as educators have to continue to push, and that's something that we as educated parents need to push for in our classrooms where our own children are, is that we want learning to still bring joy to our children, and we are masters in the classroom. So we can look for opportunities wherever those pockets exist to tap into what our kids are interested in.
Absolutely. I think of it as, way back in the day when you were trying to learn the alphabet. It was just recital. It was simply A, B, C, D. And then somebody had this genius idea to make it fun. Turn it into music. Turn it into music. And that has since become a well-sounded educational theory to, alliterate the things that you're learning, to turn it into music, to make it something memorable. And I think game-based learning is just the next phase of that. Mark, why don't we jump into, because I think we're talking about this exact thing, and let's just clarify what question 1 was for the audience. And Spanish says hi, by the way. Hello,
hey, and hey guys, use those questions and pop your questions in there if you have any. We are monitoring it. So question 1 in the chat was, how does utilizing game-based learning enhance and inspire learning, choice, and engagement? And we really had a vibrant discussion around this. Some great responses from a number of educators. Carl, was there anything from question 1 that really stood out to you that you wanted to just reiterate?
Yeah, I think just the essence of the question is about empowering students. And so whenever we can give them some kind of choice about the content, about the product that they're going to produce, it gives them a sense of ownership of their learning. And if we do have a game-based approach that that makes learning engaging and fun and gives them some control over their learning path and their time, we're going to have a better product. We're going to have a better experience for kids, and it's going to build some relationships that are then going to lay some foundation for future learning.
And this is 100% backed up by industry. I can tell you this: if you teach as a business guy, as somebody who runs companies, I can tell you that's the type of student that I want. Is that student who has gone through that process, because Google has done something transitional to the business world in the last number of years, and we're starting to pick up on it in education, and it's that innovation hour. It's that time spent where their employees get a chance to really take ownership of the company, and it's made it so successful. There's psychology behind it. Rebecca, you made a fantastic point about not just giving students a choice of what they want to do, how they want to learn necessarily, but I think your point also spoke to how they want to display their learning. Can you clarify that for our audience?
Yeah, it's not just about asking the kids, what do you want to do in my classroom, because they can give you a multitude of things that they would be interested in doing with us, but show me how you've learned this.
Mm-hmm.
Show me how you have mastered this particular skill or have mastered your understanding of this standard in the way that's most appropriate for you. Because every single child in our classroom has a different learning style. They have a different way that they're going to be able to let us know how they learn best. You know, we go back to Howard Gardner and we think about how are our kinesthetic learners in our classrooms trapped in the battleship gray desks, not able to move, not able to get up and dance around, or, you know, we've got so many sensory issues with our kids. Get up and show me in a dance how you've created this. For our really visual spatial kids, I've got a twice exceptional child in my household where if I ask him, in Minecraft, can you build me a science lab that would allow NASA to create, you know, a rocket that can travel to Mars in under 8 days? And he's at it like that. He is going right in there and he is exploring all of these worlds that I would not be able to, in any way, shape, or form, as his mom, who knows him best, get an idea of what's going on inside that head. So asking our kids to show us how they're learning in the way that best expresses it from their perspective, not from our perspective, but from theirs, really is the essence, right, of the whole child. Because while we are making sure that they feel that they are safe in our classrooms and in our schools, that they are healthy both physically and emotionally, and that they're being nurtured, but they're also being challenged in a way that's appropriate for them. So let's find ways to really challenge them by pushing them forward in the talent that they possess. Because it's one thing to just say, hey, I want you to write an essay about this, but find the talent that they have and put them with other kids that are going to challenge them. Yeah. And build that strength within themselves.
So, Rebecca, I want to follow up on that idea of working from kids' strengths and having a kid choose, this is what I want to do. I want to express my understanding in this fashion, in this medium, in this product. It allows us to have kids that are going to just do outstanding, incredible things because they are so talented. You know, Mark, you have fifth graders. They're talented. They can be brilliant. We just have to give them that ability to show what they know and that ability to make some choices. And even little kids are just doing things that are just amazing that a teacher maybe can't envision, but an 11-year-old, a 10-year-old, they can.
No, it's so true, and just giving that choice, like Melissa said, and letting students play to their own strengths, and letting students decide, how am I going to demonstrate this understanding, this knowledge? And some kids are going to go to the game. Some kids are going to go to Minecraft. Other kids are going to turn to a more traditional method. Some kids want to write reports. Others want to make a podcast or a video cast or a YouTube screening. Others still, they want to make a poster. I have this great video of just kids working on a project, and they're just all over the place, all doing different things, and they're talking, and I'm just kind of hanging out. I'm watching everything unfold, but kids are really in charge of their learning, and they've really taken control, and they own it,
and
they want to share it.
And there's a level of introspection there that allows for critical thinking. It allows students an opportunity, when you give them that choice, correct me if I'm wrong, it allows students the opportunity to look into themselves and say, what do I enjoy doing, and how do I enjoy sharing this? And Mark and I talk about this a lot in our Twitter chats and in the EdChats and in the After Chats. You've probably heard us talk about Minecraft as a language, as a way for kids to articulate themselves nowadays. And if you take a look at a student, and I have some anecdotes from my university boardship where we've seen students fail and fail and fail because they're international students and they don't speak the language 100%. When we go to the student's language, then we can actually see that they're really truly learning. It's not the language that's it's the language that's holding them back. And giving them that choice really represents an opportunity for them to both introspect, understand themselves, connect with themselves, and be able to share that they are actually truly learning. They're just not learning in the traditional standard, write me a 7-page essay approach or multiple choice strategy, right?
Right, and I think I know this to be true. We're dying as human beings because we're social creatures, and we, no matter what, if it was 1980 and we were back in our classrooms, we would be passing notes to one another. And if we're now in 2016 on a Google Hangout or with a Google Doc open with a bunch of little text messages going on the side and a chat, that's who we are as human beings, because we're desperately trying to connect with other human beings. So if we can have opportunities where our kids can find their tribe mates, right? That's one of the things that we do in our Gifted and Talented program, is really stress find your tribe. So if you offer kids in your classroom the opportunity, hey, is anybody interested in making a game to show me how you've learned this? They're going to connect with those other gamers in your classroom, and they're going to find their tribe. And any time that we can be connectors in our lives and offer that up to our students from a very early age, all I wanted for my son in kindergarten was for him to find one friend, just one kid that could connect with him and get into his world and open him up so that he would have somebody else to share this with. And I know that this is a big thing for a lot of parents, finding someone in their tribe. And their gamers are a whole other tribe unto themselves, because it's so exciting to be in that world. You know, we go into this place where it all makes sense, where we can do things that we were never able to do in the real world. So we can have these fantastic conversations with those people that get us. Yep. So having that be an opportunity for kids in your classroom, I just really want to encourage a lot of teachers to think about the possibilities that exist within it. And it doesn't have to be all the time. It's not an all or nothing option in the classroom.
Not an everyday thing either.
Right.
I want to share a quick little point just to sort of iterate on what you were saying. In a game, traditional social hierarchy of popular kids versus unpopular kids, beautiful kids versus not so beautiful kids, beautiful on the inside kids, whatever you want to say, those don't come about in a game. And what ends up happening in a game when you're working through an avatar is you can actually feel yourself. And I've felt this myself many times, being in a game and just feeling, okay, my skills, my meritocracy is embedded in this game. It's about what can I do, who am I, how am I talking. It's not about, do I have stuff on my face? Did I put my makeup on today? Am I wearing a dress? It's none of that stuff. And that puts kids into a really interesting, comfortable place. Then even outside of that social context, when you meet people face to face, the looks, the social status, none of that matters, because you've developed this connection and you've really found the tribe. I love the way that you put it.
Right. And I mean, so powerful. In a game, you choose your avatar. You can be whoever
Superman.
You want to be. Right. You know, you can be whoever you identify with inside the game. And I think that that's such a powerful component, you know, of many games. You know, Minecraft offers that opportunity to choose your skin. Carl, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think you're hitting on something that's so fundamental here. We're talking about kids and adolescents and young adults, because we're talking about game-based learning for education. Yep. Kids, adolescents, young adults, and they are in the process of forming identity. And so they're introspective. They're looking at, who am I? How do I interact with the people around me? How do I interact with the world? And to just have game-based experiences that have this one place, this one venue through which to navigate and start to figure that out. There's incredible power there. So I love the notion of tribe, and I think about my own life growing up. It was when I found my tribe in high school, the people that like comic books and the people that, you know, had a little bit of a different take on the world. that gave me a safe place. That gave me a sense about how I'm going to navigate the world, and that's what I'm looking for with my daughters.
I saw a few tweets about Dungeons and Dragons in tonight's chat.
Yeah. I miss Nostalgius. He was my mage. High school was great.
So it's interesting. We're talking about whole child development, and we've got a whole list of questions that we went over in the MinecraftEdu chat, but it all centers around how do games really impact our whole sense of self, our social, our emotional learning, and I think to reiterate the point that was made very early in the conversation, they're not dichotomous of each other. They don't come at an impasse to each other. Putting students into this comfortable environment, this socially acceptable environment that they are used to, is a great way to make sure that they're comfortable and open to learning the academics that they need to learn and to critically think about those things in addition to thinking about their whole child, their whole selves, their sense of selves.
You know, talking about the culture of the classroom, and I was thinking about a comment that, or a statement that Rebecca made before the chat started about your typical gamer, and you know, many girls identify themselves as gamers, but they might not openly admit that. And when I was using Minecraft in my classroom, you know, the boys were quick to jump on it, but many girls, they wanted to do other things to demonstrate their knowledge. But as the year progressed and we continued to talk and learn with Minecraft, and it became more accepting and open, a lot of the girls started bringing in their phones, and they already had Pocket Edition on it. They were already playing the game. They just didn't want to admit it. But as we built that safe and comfortable environment where kids felt that they could share these things, and all of a sudden my girls are bringing in their iPads and their phones with Pocket Edition on, and they're sharing their work. And hey, can I share this at morning meeting? And you know, it was great. It was great to just see everybody open up and not, oh, you're a girl, you can't play Minecraft. You know, those barriers came down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Excellent point. So let's go back into question 4. So I'll just review the questions that we kind of skipped, but I think we still covered them.
Hit all of we've kind of hit them all already.
Yeah, we just haven't explicitly stated the question. It's been this beautiful tie-in conversation. I think it was so appropriate for today's chat. So Q1 was, how does utilizing game-based learning inspire student learning, choice, and engagement? Q2 was, what does it mean to teach the whole child? And I think we've covered that concept very, very well. What is the intersection between GBL and teaching the whole child? And I think we've covered that. But Q4 is a very, very good point that I think a lot of comments came up. How can educators, and I want to add a word in here, comfortably tap into game-based learning to ensure that we are reaching the whole child? The reason why I add comfortably is because we all know, and we've had this discussion, is this challenge between academics and games, and do they actually fit? And we're saying they're not dichotomous. So how do we make sure that this is comfortable for educators to take on board and be able to really use this to ensure that they're both meeting the whole child experience, the whole child needs, and the academic needs? And we talked about this in the during the actual Twitter chat, where a lot of it comes into, we really do, as educators, we have to impress our boss, right? And you guys are bosses at your ends, and we have to make sure that we are doing things right, doing things by policy, and making sure that we are getting the kids up to the grade levels that they need. Anyway, long story, long-winded. How can we comfortably help educators tap into GBL?
Well, I think that Steve Isaacs made a really, really valid point that we need to tap into our kids as experts. Anytime that we're able to validate their credibility and to say, hey, I happen to notice that you're playing a game there. Not in a demeaning way, but really I'm interested in what you're playing and I want to know what you're learning from that. I cannot tell you how many kids will come in either with a Chromebook or they have their own device and they're on playing a game, and I'm asking them, how do you learn from that? Show me how you're learning something from that, and how could we use that in this classroom? I had a student who every single day on his iPad had a different citizen science app that he was downloading and trying out because he wanted to contribute to the body of knowledge that we as scientists are collecting. This is an 11-year-old. That is something that we have to tap into as educators. So when you see them, show an interest. Talk about a way to bridge a gap between the relationships that we have as the adult standing at the door and the adult that says, hey, what are you playing? Or have you heard of a new game? Or is there any game that can teach what we're already doing in here? Can you think of a way that we can use a game? Because then you're asking the students already what they're using. And they're going to know. You know, I'm waiting. I ask the teachers that are my children's own teachers, like, have they told you what they've done in Minecraft? Have they told you what they're doing? My children have blogs. Have they told you about their blog? Like, they just come home and they write about it because that's their way of keeping a journal. Mm-hmm. So we can ask the students. We can validate their own expertise as little gamers and say, show me what works for you. How are you learning? And what are those opportunities that I can then bring into my classroom? Can you show me? Can you teach other people in this class how to use that game? This is what I want to cover in the next unit. Can you use that game to teach this?
So Rebecca, I have a question for you. You know, I see that pretty easy for me as an elementary school teacher. I'm with the same kids all day. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we have meeting time, we talk, you know, I have the kids all day. What about, you know, our high school and middle school teachers who have the kids for 40, 45 minutes, and I don't have time to talk to them about that. How much time do you think that takes? And I mean, how as a middle or high school teacher, how can they find that time to really tap into the students' interests?
All right, so I've been a huge fan of having a flipped classroom and a blended learning environment since the dawn of technology, and found it really helpful in breaking down the walls of my classroom. So if you're a teacher and you are not yet having that online classroom component, please, please, please look into it. Figure out a way to have some type of a class Twitter or a class Edmodo or some way where you can ask those questions of the students and then get a tweet back. I had high school students that I would have never known that they were making connections with the watershed studies that we were doing in class and on our lab experiments with what they're watching on public broadcast, other than they were tweeting about it and tagging me in it. So it takes no time at all to say to students, either on social media or as a post-it note in your classroom, is anybody playing a game that they can recommend to help us teach this? Does anybody know of an anatomy game that would be appropriate to teach the body system that we're going into? Does anybody know of a citizen science app that we can use to identify tree species or whatever it may be relevant to your content? Because the kids, if we put them in charge of that learning, they're going to be that much more vested into it, right? So if we say to them, I want you to find me a game, and then I want you to pitch that game to a small group and test that out, they are more than willing to do that work for us.
Mm-hmm. Mark, you asked about middle school and high school teachers. What if they don't have the time to have those conversations with kids?
They only have 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
I'm taking a really strong position on this one. It's a passionate position that as a middle school teacher, as a high school teacher, you have a moral imperative to have those type of conversations with your kids. You need to engage in conversations with your kids about their lives, about their interests, about the ways they can bring insight into what you're doing in the classroom. If you don't have those conversations, you're just talking about content. If that's all you're talking about, you're doing something really wrong in your classroom. And I'm sorry if that's offensive to anybody out there, but as a middle school teacher, high school, you have to talk to kids about their lives. You have to.
Let me make it bridge it from offensive versus not offensive and take it away from that and just
thank you. Help me out with this.
Well, let's level it.
Carl, I'm offended.
Let's level with everybody. If you're in this chat and you're exploring teaching the whole child, and you want to get into that position where you have students who are excited to come to class, excited to learn what you have to teach, where you want it to become an exploration of learning, because knowledge is growing. As we speak, new knowledge is being found. And we don't have all the answers. So if you're in that position and you want to take on that, then you will make the time. If you don't and you want to continue teaching in the standard post or pre-apocalyptic or whatever, I'm throwing out terms here, but in the old mentality, the 200-year-old style of, you know, workshop-based teaching where we're just firing students out the door in a factory approach, then this approach is not for you and you won't make the time. But I can guarantee you that the results, and I think this conversation speaks for itself, the results will be there if you take this approach to whole child learning. And it just means you have to go that extra step and build those relationships with your students.
Yeah. So teachers have to do the extra step. The question is about what do we need to do to allow this to happen. I saw Melissa Morris, now from New Brunswick, New Jersey school district, that was in our chat. She's an administrator that understands the importance of technology and gaming. For her to make it safe with her teachers to explore this methodology, to explore this philosophical approach to teaching, I think that's what has to happen. That administrators need to create safe space for teachers to engage in really important, really valuable, and meaningful work.
I think that was an excellent question, Mark. Thank you so much for bringing that up.
I think it needs to be said, and I think, you know, if, like Carl said, if you're not doing it, you need to hear it. And I mean, Rebecca, amazing strategies. You know, find the time. If you feel that you cannot have those conversations in class, greet your kids in the hall between classes. Talk to them in the hall between classes. Go down to the lunchroom. Talk with your kids in the lunchroom before and after school. Make the time because it's important. Carl, did you want to add anything else? Maybe offer another strategy for the teachers who are still struggling to find the time?
I want to add one more point just to tie on to that before Carl jumps in here. You will be surprised. Your students actually do want those relationships with you. I'm telling you, like, you know, and I was one of those people. I was one of those people who always went out of his way to talk to and develop a relationship with my teachers. And the classmates, they wanted to, but they needed to see that barrier drop first.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any insightful strategies. The idea of finding the time, just making the time to make the decision that this is important to me. I'm going to talk to my students. I'm going to see what they can do to help me think through this. There was a tweet out earlier about bringing in students into the co-designing of lesson plans, and to have kids talk about what you're going to be doing in the classroom. Hey guys, I'm thinking about this unit of study. What do you think about it? What can we do? To bring kids in that conversation, it will ultimately improve the classroom environment. It's going to improve the learning, and everybody's going to have a better experience from it. So, I kudos to that tweet.
That was Stephen Isaacs who made that tweet, I believe. And again, fantastic educator, and that's what he does. Is, you know, he teaches game design at the middle school level, and it's perfect because he really does get to have those conversations. But I can tell you, if you speak with him, he doesn't say he gets to have those conversations, and it's absolutely true. He makes the time, he puts the effort in, and he reaps the rewards. I mean, his students have written books. He has a student who has co-authored a how-to book on Makey.
Game Maker.
Game Maker, there we go. He has students who have been showcased on the New York Times.
Yes.
Right? So the results really speak for themselves. That brilliantly leads us in, if there's no other points on that, it brilliantly leads us into Q5, which was about sharing success stories on how people have connected with students through games like Minecraft. So I think it's a perfect place to end this. Let's talk about some of the success stories that you guys have seen, and maybe bring up some that we've seen on the Twitter chat, in how this has really proven itself to be a successful approach to educating our children. Thoughts? Anyone, jump in.
I'm going through right now to find some great things that we saw in Q5. So just give me a moment to go back and pull a highlight.
No worries.
Well, I'm going to tell you one who is not there, but Kevin Jarrett. If you don't know Kevin Jarrett, in addition to Steve Isaacs, these are my New Jersey peeps. This is my tribe. These are people who get kids at such a molecular level that you need to know them, because if you're talking whole child, they live and breathe it, and they also help kids find their tribe. But Kevin Jarrett is in South Jersey, and prior to being the middle school STEM teacher, he was working in elementary and was doing amazing things with Minecraft. I met him at a conference, and my son immediately fell for him because of what he was doing with teaching kids how to use Minecraft, like whole classroom-wise, doing things with Minecraft that was mind-blowing to me as an educator that was just coming into it. And my son was just like, I want Kevin to be my big brother, and I want to sit and learn from him. And for him to use it in such a way that my son, who didn't know him from Adam, immediately made this connection with him, I can see how kids just adore him, because he's just a big kid himself. And he has that conversation of like, hey, that's really cool. I want to see how you're doing that. And I'm going to set up this challenge for you. And you're going to need to work with your team in order to complete it. And it was just mind-blowing to me. And my son sat down at one of his, like on the convention floor at the New Jersey Education Association conference in Atlantic City, and was just like, Mr. Jarrett, how do you make that? How do you do that? So, and he was like 4 years old, asking him these questions, and I was just like, why are we not grabbing the bull by the horns on this in education? Because my kid, who doesn't want to talk to anybody, is engaged in a full-blown conversation with a stranger about Minecraft. So it was just, I knew right then and there that there's got to be something to this. 4 years ago, with my son, having this conversation with Kevin of, oh, this is really cool, I want to know how to do this.
Now, isn't that something that every educator out there would love to have?
Mm-hmm.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's incredible. It goes back to that common language that we talked about last week and earlier tonight, and you just connect on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing when kids feel like you understand their world, and that's the biggest challenge. We have
very
such
validating.
Generational gaps they happen. That's life. That's reality. You know, we're never going to like the same music as our parents did necessarily, right? It's the most common thing in the history of the planet. But if we can find ways to connect, and I think games become that truly interesting way to understand children and what they do and what they get, and if we can talk to them in that same language, they're going to gravitate to us. Carl, what are your thoughts? Did you pick anything out?
So I saw Lynn Telfer. Telfer has some really interesting things going on for question 5. She suggested that she used Minecraft to talk about land use for a golf site and the impact of a new golf site. And the idea of perhaps modeling a real-world problem in Minecraft is something that the scope of the impact on the geography of the local region. It's just a great idea to have kids model a problem using Minecraft. Go first. So I'd love to hear more about what she actually is doing with this. So I'm going to reach out to her later. I'm just taken with the project.
I'm going to actually tell you a story about Lynn Telfer. So Lynn Telfer is actually my director of education with MindGauge. She's also a very, very talented Australian educator, and you know, I've had a great relationship with her, and she is selling herself short in telling that story. I think that story itself is very, very much superseded by one that is truly impressive to me. So Lynn works in Australia, and her Australian school district does not allow Minecraft. in the classroom. Yet, for the last number of years, she has been using Minecraft and Minecraft. Now, she does YouTube as well. That's actually how I met her. And she has used Minecraft YouTubers. In fact, a very good friend of mine, Gizzy Gaza, who has over 1 million YouTube subscribers strong, he did a school series, a series that I participated in, and it's called School, and it's basically a murder mystery. And what she got was her kids' connection to that YouTube environment, to that understanding, and she was able to take that and naturally gravitate it to a learning experience. So she took kids in her game design course and had them actually create a game based on this YouTuber's work, on this experience. She has done some amazing things, and she also works, Grange School, the school that she works at, constitutes one of the most difficult schools in Australia. It is situated or filled with children who are have a very tough time with teachers, with authority, and she has to deal with this. And the relationships that she's built with her students based on gaming and around gaming, it's unbelievable. And I don't know how many accolades I've heard from her, her peers and her leaders. So, you know, again, wonderful, wonderful anecdote of hers as to how she really brings in the whole child. And these are with children who, you know, don't get authority and don't like authority, but she's able to bridge those gaps.
And just for the people out there, this was not a setup. This was a natural evolution.
No, Lynn is a very active participant in our Twitter chats, and she's probably watching right now. So
I think she
we
might
thank
be
you.
too.
You know, it really brings up the idea of we've got kids who can play the game of school really well and can appear to be very compliant and engaged in our classrooms, but maybe aren't so much. So what steps can we take, and who can we connect with to make sure that we are offering up opportunities for them that really let them know we as adults value them, that we care about them, that we're in this profession because we want to make a difference, and we want to make sure that every bit of their being is valued and is appreciated, because we are creating that next generation. We literally are crafting the world in which we are going to be living in. And these are children that will be making decisions about us.
Yes, yeah.
Best that we show them ways how we care about them, people.
Yes, I don't want my kids putting me into a home at 40.
It's true.
And I mean, I think game-based learning is wonderful for problem solving and decision making and making those decisions quickly and in the moment. And that's an important skill that our children need to have. I want to add something about, you know, there are the kids who play the game of school and they're compliant, they're not engaged. But then I think that there's also the kids who maybe aren't playing the game of school but totally buy into school. And then, wait a minute, I don't have to recall facts and regurgitate information for my job. You know, they don't have the skills that they need in order to be competitive.
That's true.
So, and I think game-based learning helps give children the competitive edge. You know, we talk about 21st century skills. We talk about the 4 C's. You know, game-based learning really does that for children, and it brings out their creativity, and it encourages collaboration and, you know, the idea of sharing and communicating ideas. I think game-based learning really does set that up very well.
And early in the chat, we saw some talk about it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And to create an environment for kids that they can fail and still be okay. That's an important life lesson. In fact, actually, it's one of the most important life lessons.
How do we recover from that failure? That's something that we need to model for our students, to take risks in our own classroom, to say maybe this isn't my area of expertise, but I'm still going to try this. And I'm going to model how I'm going to take those steps and those precautions, say, okay, so this didn't work out well. What can we do differently the next time? And to actually go through that thought process with the students, because they don't know it. We're making so many assumptions about what they're coming in with, and there are so many other things that are going on in their lives. So if we take the time to say to them, I really want to try this approach with you. I don't know how it's going to work, but I'm willing to give it a try. Let's see what happens, and let's reflect on it each step of the way. Wow, those are lifelong dividends that are going to be paying out.
As an entrepreneur, that is absolutely 100%.
Yes.
That is what it takes to thrive in this world.
And Carl, you touched on that earlier. You know, that vulnerability. Hey kids, I don't know exactly how I'm going to teach this, but how can we tie it in? You know, when you're vulnerable and you let the kids know that, you know, maybe this isn't going to work out, but we're gonna reflect on it, and we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna figure out, we're gonna learn from our mistakes. You know, when kids see that, yeah, they know it's okay to fail, but you got to fail well, and you can't accept failure as final. You know, you got to keep moving forward. You got to fail forward. You know that phrase, fail forward. I mean, I think it's thrown around a lot, but it's how do we handle failure? How do we move on from failure? Because ultimately we can't accept it as final, right? We can learn from it and grow from it.
Such a good point. And I think it also allows us the opportunity to look to our peers. And you know, this is the big C. One of the big C's in the 4 C's is collaboration.
Yeah.
And you know, when we recognize that we don't have all the answers, and it's okay to be wrong, and it's okay to fail, and it's okay to ask for help, and you know, look for information, that allows us, it opens the doors to collaboration. As a final point that I want to share with everybody on GBL specifically is, if you look at all these educators, including the 4 of us sitting here, we've all played games. We understand games, and we appreciate and value games. And if you look at all the educators who are doing amazing things with their classrooms right now, with game-based learning, they all play games. So one encouraging factor that I can give you is look at us as the examples. We're comfortable with playing games. We recognize that we don't play games all the time, every single hour of every day. We don't have to be the child's mentality of a game where, you know, it's going to be come home from school and just shoot them up all the time. There is value in games, and I encourage every educator out there to dabble with games, to understand them, to play them with your peers. And that was what last week's chat was all about, is give yourself that opportunity to play. Because in that you will learn to share that common language with the students and bridge that gap.
Excellent. That's a great final thought.
Final thoughts from you folks.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, just to piggyback off of what you just said, teachers need models too, where we can see that it's okay to take risks, where we can hear from our administrators that don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. If you want us to be incorporating different innovative practices, I mean, who wasn't playing Oregon Trail? Hello, I have both the analog and remember it on my dot matrix printer and all my little dots. But just played it in the rainstorm the other day. But if there's anything that administrators can do, when you have your back to school this year, take time for just faculty members to sit around and play a game and let them laugh and let them bond and let them get back to that place where as children we felt that connection with the people we were playing games with. Just to get back to that place so that they can say, oh yeah, there it is. There's that sweet spot.
Yeah.
I'm not compromising anything. I'm here, I'm learning with these people that are next to me. But here's a really great opportunity as an administrator to say, I want you to do this, and I want you to remember how great it feels to do this.
Yeah, what a great way to build rapport. That's great.
Absolutely.
Carl?
Yeah, I'm going to take it to a different kind of direction here. Rebecca was really instrumental in helping me find my way to Twitter. And the overarching community that I found out there that I found so absolutely inspiring, that the Twitter chats that I followed, the people that I followed, the experiences that I've had like this have been so professionally rewarding. They've actually been personally rewarding. So just to know that there's this community out there, community of people that are just dedicated to kids and to education and doing something powerful for the world is just I commend everybody out here, and I'm just grateful that I stumbled into this world, and it's been really important to me. So thanks for the opportunity to do this too.
Yeah, well, Carl, thank you for being here and helping us with this powerful and meaningful chat. And you made some excellent points, and really appreciate your honesty and your brutal honesty. It was great. It was great. I had a fun time. My final thought is just have fun. Have fun with your kids. Play with your kids. And you'll build that rapport that Rebecca was talking about, and you'll build that safe and comfortable environment. Just have fun with your kids.
Enjoy.
Awesome. All right. Well, I want to say a final thank you to both Carl Cooper and Rebecca McLelland-Crawley. Please follow them on Twitter.
Yes.
Their hashtags or their @ symbols are in their names just underneath that. If you have to go back a few seconds, that's fine. We want to thank all of you guys. If you've made it this far into the video, astounding. I honestly, if I was watching this video from outside, I would not have been able to tear my eyes away from it, because I think the conversation was so powerful, and Rebecca is just looking so wonderful. But I do want to thank you guys for joining us and participating in the Twitter chats, participating in these after chats, those of you who asked questions. Next week, we are going to be up with another topic, actually something that Carl Cooper will be interested in, which is social studies. We're going to be, no, that's 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks. Barber is 2 weeks.
Next week we're going to be joining Stephen Elford.
Stephen Elford, one of the pioneers of Minecraft and education.
Yeah, in fact, Stephen Elford was one of the original people who picked up MinecraftEdu and started doing it. And he's going to be talking about using Minecraft to support your curriculum delivery, where content needs to come across. How do you make sure that your curriculum delivery still comes across while using a game-based learning tool? So join us next week for that. I want to thank as well Mark Gruntel, and I also want to thank David Adderhold, who was not able to join us in the after chat, but was in the actual Twitter chat. So
very instrumental in planning the chat.
Absolutely. So thank you all, and we will see you again next week.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good night or good morning if you're in Australia.
Yes, to my Aussies.